Governor Abbott, President Trump, and Vice President Vance. I'm coming to you today for the 33 years that we've had the Americans with Disability Act in the United States. Mr. Trump, if you believe that assaulting, degrading, in any misrepresentation for any Americans with disabilities to be put in institutions that are living on the street right now, that is the wrong approach. We do not want to go back in time. There are several people at this very moment that are being terrorized by threats and video clips on X, and children are being verbally assaulted, and adults with disabilities on YouTube by certain creators. And now you're going to go to the streets and harm those Americans that have mental illnesses and physical handicaps and put them back into institutions so that they will not have the right to be seen or heard, and treat them like dirt. That is a wrong type of skeleton for any American with disabilities to go back to. It is imperative that all of America, especially Texans, to understand that if you have a disability, you have the right to be treated with dignity, respect, that you are able to be utilized within your community and society as a whole, as a productive member of America. What would be the saddest thing to happen if anyone goes back 33 years is the rights for our children, our youth, our young people are our future. Our middle age and our elderly are our wisdom. Many of these individuals have disabilities. They teach each other within their communities. At this very time and place, there is two major things going on. On YouTube, you have Andrea Griffin, you have a guy by the name of Tony Mathis, and At Night Media, who just came to Texas, particularly Mr. Hong, who have made video clippings of veterans and disabled individuals, degrading them, putting them into mental institution jackets, making clips of them being shot and killed by Dog the Bounty Hunter, by Mr. Hong and Mr. Nick the Hat. That is insulting. Some of these individuals, these disabled adults, are veterans. They're 90, 100, 70% veterans. And it's still going on. It's okay. It's okay. It's been turned into DOJ. It's been turned into the FBI. It's been turned into Clarksville Police Department in Montgomery County, Tennessee. But who cares? Who cares whether these Americans who served in war... Now, we're not talking about all politicians. We're talking about regular Americans that voted for Trump, that voted for Vance, that voted for Abbott. These are regular Americans who went to war, came home with a variety of physical and mental illnesses, and you're going to throw them to the side? What kind of shit is that, Mr. Trump? Mr. Abbott, you need to raise up the flag here and say, hey, we're not going to give up on our Americans with Disabilities Act. We're going to protect our Americans. We're going to do something for our veterans. Mr. Vice President Vance, you're a prior military. You need to look into this at-night media on X and Mr. Hung and Mr. Tony Mathis and Andrea Griffin on YouTube. And you need to put a stop to these people being ugly, running down Americans, especially the children and our veterans, and all Americans with disabilities. Because when they re-victimize all these people, they have to start therapy over. You may want these people out of sight and out of mind, Mr. Trump, but the right thing to do is not to give back any money from the Dodge to the American public, but to use that money, utilize it, make it go to use, let it be productive for the Americans on the street. Don't close down the soup kitchens. Don't close down the community outlets that are helping addicted drug members of our culture, our society, our people. Take that money. Don't give it back to anyone. And you utilize it in buying buildings and having facilities where people can stay in the evenings, having good meals or minimal meals, giving them job trainings, letting them understand everything will be okay, that their government is here to assist them instead of running them back into institutions where they're just housed. How would you feel if every regular American took every million and millionaire and we took your asses and put you in an institution? That would be wrong. That's what you would think. Well, how do you think regular Americans feel? Okay? The last two administrations, all they did was hop around the situation. Mr. Trump, you're supposed to be a visionary. You're a businessman. Okay? Think about this. You help those that are on the street. You bring up our veterans, disabled veterans. You stop these corporations from victimizing or allowing Americans with disabilities to be victimized on social media platforms such as X, Facebook, YouTube, by creators. You protect our children. You protect our rights. And guess what? Your legacy will live on. And perhaps when your youngest child, if he ever decides to run for president, your legacy for the next several generations would be willing to vote for him because you established the priorities that you care for Americans, not just America, but the actual unity of our people. Think about it. When you think about the Clarksville Police Department in Montgomery County, Tennessee, you have to understand that when someone calls 911, and that is the only number they have even for non-emergency numbers, that Americans should not be threatened to be arrested. That is a violation of our due process rights. And when this threat is made to an American who hasn't done a crime, who has utilized the 911 system, that is a guaranteed contact of protection, the 911 system. And they do it inside of a hotel room or a hotel lobby. That is public humiliation and intimidation. When someone does that for due process violations, which is the 14th Amendment, and the officer refuses to accept factual evidence that the original officer wanted and informed someone to bring back to update a filing on the threats of violence, physical violence being made to an individual that has a disability, and the staff sergeant of that evening says, well, we'll just throw that out. When the officer who comes to the hotel threatening to arrest that person, a citizen, for engaging in the protected conduct of calling 911, that may constitute a clean First Amendment rights violation. When that officer denies that American with disabilities the right to have assistance from a protocol ADA officer that Clarksville, Montgomery County has a program like, that is the denial of ADA rights, which is a federal law. Tennessee Code of Antidote determines that this Clarksville Police Department must comply with federal civil rights standards and local department policies on non-discriminative practices. So here's what I'm getting at, Mr. Trump. When a police department violates the rights of an individual with disabilities, that is wrong also. And that is going on all over the freaking country. And people complain to the FBI. They do complaints to the DOJ. They follow all the procedures within each district, each state. And you know what they find? They find that they have to pull everything together and stand up strong. So how dare you, Mr. Trump, think that Americans with disabilities are not important? How dare you smack veterans and active duty military people in the face and say, oh, yes, I requested your vote, but I'm going to treat you like shit now? You have no right to take away anything from any American with a disability. You are expected to hold us up. You are expected to hold that flag. It's not just your America. It is our America. And I am speaking for people with disabilities. I am speaking as a retired military family member. And I am telling you that there is a lot of discriminations going against veterans and their family members with disabilities. So you need to come up with a new plan. You need to look into Tennessee's, especially Tennessee right now. You need to look into what they're doing about when an officer writes up a police report and requests that 3 individuals be arrested and their superiors do not do that. That is wrong. It is also wrong for Seth Rogers to threaten my witness for a court case and the police do nothing about that. Neither does the TBI or FBI. So they're just going to throw people with disabilities to the side. Mr. Rogers has implied so many threats to so many individuals. Andrea Griffin actually stated about a child, a teenager who is missing right now, that he was a defective member of society. Excuse me. Because he has autism. That should not be allowed on YouTube. Julie Stolnick, she called Sebastian Rogers a demonic spirit from Lucifer. YouTube won't take that down that video either. Okay? No autistic individual with a disability should be called stupid, demonic, defective, imperfect. That is wrong. Sebastian Rogers is a highly functioning person, but he is still missing. But on the YouTube streets, right now, this very moment, there are approximately 29 children and people with disabilities that are being harassed. Individuals who have been sexually assaulted, who have been raped, molested, who have been victims of domestic violence. Some creators are putting these victims' names out there, following in their police reports, and they're mentioning all the stuff that happened to them. Some of these people are young people. Some of them are older. But when you victimize someone again, which these creators are doing, it causes many individuals to have to go through therapy again. It breaks their lives down again. So YouTube, I hope you hear this too, because you're not doing a damn thing about it. You're keeping them up. You're keeping up their videos. And what does it say to our victims of all sexual assault, of all domestic violence? It says you don't give a care about them. What does that say about ADA? You don't care about the kids with disabilities. You don't care about the American veterans who went to war and saved your ass and gave you your protections. All you care about is freaking money. So you guys really need to talk to the public about this. Governor Abbott, I hope that you hear this. I hope that you will lift up our Texans with disabilities. I hope that you will protect our children with disabilities. I hope that you will say, hey, look, I'm disabled also, and no one's going to attack Americans with disabilities. You are in the foremost position as a leader to stand out and stand up for Americans with disabilities. And Mr. Vance and Mr. Trump, I hope you really look into the hate crimes that have been turned in to DOJ and FBI for crimes against people with disabilities. Hate crimes against sexually assaulted victims, sexually abused victims, and domestic violence victims. Hate crimes against individuals with disabilities, with the At Night Media Group. And the At Night Media Group also tampered and stole federally United States postal mail. They put it out on X. They doxed the individual. That is wrong also. That's absolutely wrong. So my expectation is for you all to protect us, but at the same time to not take away our dignity for many people of us, individuals, served. And you have your freedoms because of the people who served. You have the ability to go and drive through McDonald's, Mr. Trump, and get your Coca-Cola and your Big Mac because a disabled person is cooking your meal. A disabled person. A person who is living in their car, but they still want to work. Do you get where I'm coming from? Provide the jobs. Get the facilities. Protect the kids. Protect their vets. Don't institutionalize the people. Leave a legacy of yourself for the potential and productivity of your youngest child running for president one day. Be the example, Trump. Give a shit about the ordinary Americans. And look into Tennessee. concerning the Sebastian Rogers case. Thank you very much. Have a good day. But remember, the Americans with Disability Act Title II is very important. The Missing Children Amber Alert is very important. And I'm going to talk about two more topics. Sebastian's father is trying to get a national CPS data system across the United States. I personally think this is a good idea. It would provide a fundamental foundation of reports to each state about the abuse, neglect that guardians provide to the children. It would follow by the children's name. So therefore, every law enforcement agency and every Department of Child Protective Services could utilize that type of system when a child goes missing. And if the child is still alive, we would know as a nation the background of where that child has been with what guardians who have provided harm. I do believe that we need a national CPS database. The third thing I would like to speak about is the United States Postal Service, Mr. Trump. You should not get rid of the United States Postal Service. A lot of people who are poor or they're on budgeted incomes, they cannot afford UPS stores or FedEx or any of that type of thing. What you should consider is putting the United States Postal Service business hours back to 4 days a week, 9 hours a day, just 4 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. That way there's a gap there on Thursday, and it would save a lot of money. And that way we could keep the services for the lower income class people and the people on budgets. And, the USO, we can still send our packages overseas to our troops. Don't try to change everything about America. Embrace the Americans, Mr. Trump. All of them. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.